Sound check, November or December 14th. Presenter's laptop, sound check. Clerk's laptop, sound check. Clerk's laptop, sound check.
And we are live.
Thank you, everyone, and welcome to our meeting. It's good to see everyone. I'd like to call this meeting of the Hamilton Municipal Heritage Committee to order. Members of the public are advised that our meetings are webcast live by the City of Hamilton and temporarily archived on the city's website. Before we start into the meeting, is there any member who would rather respond verbally to our votes and request to speak? I ask this question as there may be some members calling in today. So if I could just get those members to acknowledge that. Will, I believe you're online.
Yes, I am. I'm listening.
Sounds good. So we'll go through our roll call before we get into our agenda items. Councillor Pearson. David Beeland. Don't see him present. Janice Brown.
Here.
Karen Burke. Don't see Karen present. Graham Carroll.
Present.
Charles Dimitri.
Present.
Lynn Lundstead.
Here.
Robin McKee.
Here.
Timothy Ritchie. Tim's not with us today. And Will, as previous acknowledged.
Mhm.
Madam Clerk, are there any changes to the agenda?
Yes, Madam Chair. Under communications items, item 5.1 from Dr. S. Sheehan, Friends of St. Giles, respecting the heritage properties in Ward 3 with a recommendation to be received.
May I have a mover and a seconder on the motion to approve the agenda as amended?
I see Janice and I see Lynn.
Are there any opposed? Seeing none, the item is carried. Moving on to our declarations of interest, are there any declarations of interest today? I will just note that there are some declarations of interest under our awards category, so we will make that acknowledgement at that time. And seeing none, we'll move on to our approval of minutes and previous meeting. So may I have a motion to approve the meeting notes of October 29th, 2021?
Will here.
I think Will is moving that along with Chuck.
Okay. Is there anyone opposed? And no discussion? Seeing none, that item is carried. So we now move on to our communication items. The next item is included in the addendum. It was the letter from Dr. S. Sheehan and the Friends of St. Giles respecting heritage properties in Ward 3. Is there any discussion in regards to that item? Janice?
Yes, through the chair, I have two things that I'd like to state. First of all, is this possible to recommend that this go to Inventory and Research Working Group and that we ask Dr. Sheehan to attend? Because there has been discussion with regard to properties in Ward 3 that perhaps should be further recognized. So that is one comment. And the second one, she mentions inaccurate information on designated Stewart and Witten properties. That's the last paragraph. And I'm not aware of that. Is there anybody else that can answer that, or should this be directed directly to Dr. Sheehan? And I know she is very good about what she has been putting out on her Friends of St. Giles Facebook. And I've been following that. And there was an excellent stadium tour that was distributed during Grey Cup week, and it was the properties around the stadium and properties that were identified as Stewart and Witten. So wonderful on behalf of her and her group to take that work on. So those are my questions, those are my concerns, and that's my comment.
And Janice, I think that recommendation about it going to the working group, I think it is a good one. The last paragraph of her letter does allude to the recommendation that they're making, where she says, unfortunately, some inaccurate information about designated Stewart and Witten properties has been shared on social media. I trust the committee can advise on correcting misconceptions about heritage protections and ensuring the protection of heritage affected by the LRT. So I think that's where we need to engage with Dr. Sheehan and the working group and see what can be done to just provide better education and information about that. So if that's a recommendation
Okay,
that you'd
thank you.
like to put forward, do we have a seconder for that or any other discussion?
I see Lynn and I see Graham. Are you seconding or do you have a question? They're both okay. I'll choose Graham this time. Chuck, do you have a question?
I do have a question, but I'll ask it after you're done, Lorraine.
If it's about this item, why don't you ask it before we do the vote?
Okay. Just to, I mean, I remember several years ago, when the province was heavily involved in the LRT before it got canceled and then came back, they made a considerable effort to inventory properties along the LRT that were potential heritage properties of interest. Is that listing still available? Does the city still have access to it? Because that would seem to be helpful in this regard. As I said, I remember it was a very comprehensive list along the entire length of the proposed LRT. So can staff comment on that?
Through the chair, Chuck is correct. They did do a detailed assessment, and it did go to Heritage Committee. What we can do is either provide that document or provide a link. I don't know offhand where it is, but I'm certain that we still have that in terms of previous agendas, or we can follow up with the province directly.
Thank you. I suspect these properties are in that list, perhaps not, but I think that list would be helpful too. So thank you. And just to go further, again, I agree with the comment about this going before inventory. Perhaps both lists could go to the inventory working
you.
group.
No, that's a great point, Chuck. Right. So we have the motion on the floor. Is there anyone opposed to that motion? Seeing none, that item is carried. And we now move on to our consent items. So on the agenda, we have 7.1A, 7.1B, and 7.1C. Are there any questions in regards to these delegated approvals?
I see Robin.
Go ahead, Robin.
Yeah, I read the inventory one, and they were talking about looking at the Rimo station. If that's the case, why don't we put that on our yellow list?
Oh, Robin,
Yeah,
I think is that item in regards to the working group recommendation?
7.1A.
So 7.1A is in regards to 71 Main Street West, which is City Hall.
No. I think he's referring, I think, Robin, you've got the wrong, you're,
Yeah.
we're not there yet.
Okay.
Yep. No, we'll get to that question a little bit later in the agenda. So right now we're dealing with the heritage permit applications, the delegated approvals. One is in regards to 71 Main Street City Hall. We have 15 Inglewood Drive, and we have 51 Stewart, which is the Workers' Arts and Heritage. So is there any discussion on those three properties? Seeing none, may I have a mover and a seconder to receive the items?
I see Graham and Lynn.
Okay. Is there anyone opposed? Seeing none, that item is carried. For the next item, I'd like to relinquish the chair to our vice chair.
Go ahead, Madam Chair.
Okay, so it's in regards to item 7.2, which is a response to the Reverend Sloan of New Vision Church. We'd just like to defer that to our first meeting in January, just to allow some fine tuning of the response. It was also in regards to Dr. Sheehan's input into some of those other properties, just seeing if there's any additional information that we could add to that letter, and also to allow staff some time just to review what I've provided. So we'll have that on the agenda with a copy prepared in time for our meeting for January. So we'd just like to defer that.
Thank you, Alyssa. May I have a mover and a seconder to defer the item to the next meeting? If there's no discussion.
I see Janice. Do you have a question? And Graham, you also have a question? Okay.
I have a comment, and I'm not sure through the chair that it's appropriate, but it does certainly refer to the entire St. Giles file, and there is a letter to the editor by Dr. Sarah Sheehan in the paper this morning, and it is directed to the developer Bruce Coabera. You might be interested in seeing it. Thank you. I hope that's not out of order.
No, it is not. Graham, did you have a question, or were you raising your hand
No,
about the
I have
motion?
I have a comment.
Please
I-
go ahead with your
yeah.
comment, Graham.
I am flabbergasted that this has taken as long as it has. Normally, when you make a response to someone's inaccurate comments, you try to get it when it's fresh in people's minds. This was what, July? And we're going to respond in what, February? That's a long time. We got to speed things up. The response should have been ready by September, in my opinion. This is too long.
Noted. Thank you, Graham. I think it's pretty hard to argue with that. So, if are there any other questions or comments at this point? Okay. May I now have a motion, a mover and a seconder to defer the item to the next meeting? And hope we can address this in a timely fashion thereafter.
Anyone? I see Tim Ritchie and I see Lynn.
Thank you. We will now vote. Is there anyone opposed to the deferral at this point? And I do not see any in opposition, so it's carried. I'm going to hand this back to the regular chair of the meeting. Please go ahead, Alyssa.
Thank you, Chuck. So we move on to our item 10.1, which is the Inventory and Research Working Group notes of September 27th, 2021. So both staff and members of the working group are here to speak to the discussion item. And just as a reminder, the Inventory and Research Working Group recommends that 250 Charlton Avenue West, the Hamilton Amateur Athletic Association HAAA grounds be added to the municipal register. So is there any discussion? We'll start a speakers list. I see Robin. Is there anyone else? And Janice? Janice, as the chair of the working group, would you like to speak first?
Yes, through the chair, that is
Could
exactly.
I just ask a question? What happened to 8.1?
Madam Chair, if I may, Robin, that item has moved. If you look at the merged agenda, you'll notice that item 10.3, which was not on the original agenda, was the Heritage Committee year in review. And at the time that the agenda was published, I understood it as a staff presentation, but it is not. It is just the report that you'll be discussing later in the meeting.
So there were multiple agendas.
Yes, often there are.
Yep, I missed that twice.
Not a problem, Robin. So, so if it's okay, we'll move on to Janice's comments for item 10.1.
Yes, through the chair, and I'm speaking to Robin's question that he posed a few sessions back, and this is with regard to Rymel Station. And since these meeting notes that we have been received, we have since had another meeting, and if you note, it says Anne Gillespie provided, and she's one of our working group members, excellent former Heritage staff member of the City of Hamilton. Provided some information, and she was the one that originally brought this up. But since then, it has progressed, and at this point in time, and Graham, correct me if I'm incorrect, but it's my understanding that Anne is willing to take this on, and I think Graham is going to assist, and Jim Charlton is definitely taking pictures, and there has already been some dealings with the Rymel Station people, so there has been a connection. So I'd like to add that, Robin, so you know that that is definitely on our radar and will be addressed. And Graham has added some additional information. Graham, you may want to speak to this because you folks were really into the silos and you're familiar
Okay.
with them. I'm not so familiar with silos.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay. So with the silos, I've taken it over from Ann. She's backed away and going to stay in Dundas, and I'll handle this. We've done the preliminary research. I'm going to do the last little bit so we can get them at our meeting minutes for next meeting and our recommendations forward. If you want to add it to the watch list, I think it's a good idea. Even though it sits on conservation lands, it's not in danger right now, but it doesn't hurt to watch it. Add that to mind if you wish. But it's amazing history. It was built in 1943 to answer the fears of the farmers in the area losing their hands and not getting feed for their livestock. So the guy from Binbrook Feed Store built the silos on the old CN right away to get feed brought in from the west to feed the livestock in the area. So it served a need at the time, and it was pretty important. And then the Ancaster Co-op built the next elevator to it, the wooden one, which we're going to take a closer look at. It's hard to find any more information on that one, but we're going to probably look at getting some kind of protection to that one as well. But it's amazing history, and next meeting we'll hopefully have it all for you.
That's great. Thank you both for the update. So we have before us the recommendation from the meeting notes. Do we have a mover and a seconder in regards to that recommendation?
I see Janice and I see Graham.
Okay. Is anyone opposed to that recommendation? Seeing none, that item is carried. And based on that, is there any wish to make recommendations for the silos now or wait until the next meeting?
I see Robin.
Just my first recommendation is that perhaps we should put it on the yellow list of keep an eye on it. With the wooden silo to the north, that's a fire hazard. And there's a lot of graffiti and people breaking in. Can't do anything about it, but at least keep an eye on it.
Graham, would you second that motion by Robin?
Yes, I will.
Okay. And then can you, I say if you can just provide Lorraine with the proper name that we should list. And again, Robin's recommending yellow. So.
Thank you for reading my mind, Madam Chair.
It was called Rymel Station, and we're talking about the silos. So I think it's Rymel Station silos.
And that Lorraine, is that okay if we follow up after the meeting? We can get you the.
Absolutely, yes, that's fine.
That sounds good. So is there anyone opposed to that recommendation? Seeing none, that item is carried as well. We'll now move.
No, I do have the address, which is 42 Dartnell.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay. And item 10.2 is our Hamilton Municipal Heritage Committee Heritage nominations for 2021. And I'd like to, at this time, relinquish the chair to a vice chair. And does anyone have any questions in regards to the list that was attached with our agenda? Or would you like us to go through a brief summary of the awards that were provided? Janice?
See Janice.
Yes, through the chair, perhaps Alyssa, if people don't want the entire program, you might want to highlight the fact that we've added another
couple of
group
categories.
to this? A couple
Yes.
categories? Yes. Thank you for the words.
Lorraine, are you able to share that document on the screen?
Yes, just give me a moment.
So just while we're waiting for the document, just to give a bit of a summary. So the education working group, we've put in a lot of hours reviewing public nominations, as well as going through nominations that were provided from our own group, as well as members of staff. And there was a number of properties, and it was a good time really getting to understand some of these properties. And we did have a very good turnout from the public nomination process. So over these last number of months, we've gone through and taking a look at who we wanted to acknowledge, and knowing that this year we'll be again doing a video production as opposed to an in-person, but hopefully in the next year we'll be able to do something, get back to our routine. But for now we'll be doing a full sort of summary video series like we did last year during the COVID break. And this year, going through the awards, there was so many excellent nominations, and we've given this page that you can see on your screen right now as a summary of the categories. Some are the existing categories that we have used for the last number of years, and also a couple of categories came out from this review. So this year we have 7 Heritage Property Conservation Award winners. So this is recognizing property owners that have demonstrated excellence in maintaining a home or a place of worship or their heritage property. Under our developer awards, we have one presentation this year. Adaptive reuse, we actually had 3 properties that were demonstrations of excellence in how they adaptively reused a heritage property for a new use to give it new life. Under cultural heritage landscapes, we have 1 award winner. And under our category of sustainable design and heritage, it was felt that this year, we wanted to see if there was a property that was really truly worthy of demonstrating how sustainable projects could enhance the heritage property. And there was no nominations this year in that category, but that's not a problem. And we know that there's some flexibility with these award categories every year. Under making heritage accessible, we have 1 property that we'd like to acknowledge this year as to how they made their facility more accessible to the public, and keeping again that heritage property in use. As well as our education in heritage category, we have 3 wonderful individuals and groups that we want to acknowledge as to how they've allowed a better understanding of heritage by educating the community. What we found is that actually we had a number of nominees that fell into a bit of a subcategory. And this year, for the very first time, we want to acknowledge the art of heritage. So we have 3 individuals and they're artists who are using their art to help expand knowledge and education in heritage. Under our Heritage Groups and Society and Specialty team, we had 3 nominees. And again, looking at the nominations that we received from the public and looking at the property developers and looking at the property owners, we also came up with a new category, Heritage Streetscape Revitalization. And we really feel that in the coming years, as developments are happening on some of our heritage streetscapes, this year being James Street North, and as well as Barton Street, and that revitalization that's coming through that we wanted to acknowledge the developers that are investing a lot of time and effort and those property owners into making our streetscapes alive again. So Lorraine, if you just wanted to scroll just really quickly, we'll just highlight those properties. Again, our heritage property winners, we have residential properties from across the city, as well as a place of worship, Sacred Heart Parish. All have put in a commitment of restoring their historic homes. One of the painted ladies that was most recently restored, including 23 Undercliff, that the property underwent a very terrible fire, but the property owners have restored that property to its beauty again. Just going on, our heritage developer, Core Urban for 53 King Street, and sort of finishing that 1 extra piece in our Gore to help revitalize the Gore Park area. Under our adaptive reuse, we have 147 Mary Street, which is the Good Shepherd building, formerly factory, converted to affordable housing. 141 Park Street is the Gasworks. Again, another administrative, industrial, commercial type building that's now been converted to the Gasworks Cultural Center. And 375 Wilson. And this is a very interesting one, the old Russo House restaurant, but is now the Brewer's Blackbird Brewery and Kitchen. So as microbreweries have become more popular in the city, this property has been able to do a very thoughtful addition, modern addition to a heritage property to make it a very useful and vibrant building for the Ancaster community. Under our cultural heritage landscapes, we have the Young Family Cemetery. And this is a property that if you get a chance to go for a tour of this property, there's a lot of historical plaquing. And you really get a sense as you walk through that cemetery, first of all, how it's well taken care of. And it's a part of the community, a part of the neighborhood, and a well-respected area. And it's also educating people with the story of the family. Under making heritage accessible, we are acknowledging 6180 Whitechurch Road East in Mount Hope. And this is the Case United Church. And again, it's a modern addition to a heritage building, but they've done it in a very, very good way. And they've also been able to provide accessibility to that church that they were losing. Rather than people struggling to use the front stairs, they've now added an entrance at grade. They've provided barrier-free access, barrier-free washrooms, new meeting spaces for the community, as well as a barrier-free lift to get into the sanctuary. So again, a very, very worthwhile project for a place of worship. Under Education and Heritage, we have Lance Darren Cole, Patrick Duhart, and Nathan McCroy. And this is for videos that were produced with the help of the ACO for Doors Open Hamilton, and some very well produced videos. If you get a chance to go in and take a look at them, if you haven't already, that they're wonderful visual tools that educate the community on those heritage properties. Memory Lane is a downtown BIA's QR code project. So if you haven't had a chance to go downtown, there's a number of heritage properties that they've implemented a QR code system on the front glass or door. You can scan it on your phone and learn all about the history of that property. And that's also linked to a portal on their website where you can go in and do a walking tour right on your computer of the heritage properties that are in downtown. So that was a very very good educational project that the BIA took on to help within the city. And finally, under educators, we have Leanne Plithrow, who's a local historian who's focused on Akmar and Century Manor to educate the public. And she's done so much through social media to engage the public, but also to get the information out there and really bring those two properties that may be endangered and maybe forgotten, but really bring it to the forefront on a continual basis through social media and through tours that she has done. And so we wanted to recognize those as education. Under a new category, which is the Art of Heritage, we have Danuta Ninton, we have Elizabeth Suhanna, and we also have the Power of Design exhibit. Danuta has produced a number of graphic images, watercolor sketches that she's now just produced into a book, but it really focuses on the historic homes and destinations in Dundas and brings to life that that neighborhood and that community through her watercolor paintings and the walking tours that are associated with that. Elizabeth Suhanna is a visual artist. If you get a chance to see her work, her images are mixed media. She brings to life wonderful graphic, layered mixed media art pieces that reflect individual buildings. And she's done the Workers' Arts and Heritage and a number of other properties within the city. And they're produced as prints and then sold. And the Power of Design exhibit is a collaborative project. It was done with a photographer, an architect, and a historian. So we would recognize Francis Forger, Chris Harrison, and Megan Hobson, and they put together a wonderful exhibit that showed the architecture of our unique buildings that were related to power within the city, the electrical grid and that architecture. And they really brought to life a side of the city's architecture that you wouldn't have realized. So we wanted to congratulate all three of those as artists in demonstrating education and heritage. And our last couple of categories is our heritage group and society. So we have the Hamilton Police Historical Society, the Ancaster Village Heritage Community, and the Flamborough Archives and Heritage Society. All three groups are very active in their community. All three groups have dedicated volunteers that in their own areas of expertise are bringing to life that heritage. They're archiving that heritage, keeping it alive, and keeping it there for future generations to be able to access. And all of this work is done by volunteers. The Ancaster Village Heritage Group has been so active in helping to bring the community together around their properties that they feel are endangered and their downtown core. The Flamborough Archives and Heritage Society have been so involved in the register and working with city staff to help them get the inventory of places updated and working with the community. So all three, we wanted to acknowledge their great work as volunteers. And then finally, our last new category was the Heritage Streetscape Revitalization. And again, recognizing those property owners that have taken on huge projects that aren't just an individual project, but it's a project that's bringing new life to a streetscape. It's rejuvenating the facade. It's bringing residential into a community. It's bringing new commercial businesses to the streetscape. And these projects are really catalysts for the development of the entire street and helping with that. So recognizing 302 James Street North, as well as the property owner of 431 to 435 Barton Street East. So these are our award winners this year. It's going to be it's going to be wonderful to get these presentations together in video format with descriptions of the properties and to acknowledge their significance. And the hope is that again we'll do a rollout of these videos in February for the for Heritage Day and Heritage Week.
Thank you, Alyssa, for that detailed description, and thanks to all the members of the Education Committee who spent so much time looking at all these worthy candidates and evaluating the merits. We had a lot of interesting discussions about this, and this is one of the most positive things to be involved in on the Heritage Committee. And it dare I say, we're not always full of joy here, but this is one of the most joyful activities that we have with the Heritage Committee. Are there any final questions before I ask for a mover and a seconder to approve the list? And may I have a mover and a seconder to approve the list of nominations at this point?
See Graham and I see Robin.
Thank you. We will now vote. Is there anyone opposed to the list? And I don't see any. I don't see any people not in approval. Alyssa, I'll hand it back to you. I guess the next stage for this is to go before City Council for approval at an upcoming meeting to make sure that they agree with this as well. Perhaps you could talk to that as well too. So I'll hand it back to you, Alyssa.
Thank you, Chuck. Yes, and that is the next step is that it will go before Planning and Council and go through the regular as part of this meeting package. It'll go forward, and I say with all hopes that Council won't see any reasons to deny. So, and Janice, you have a question?
Knowing this won't happen until January, are we able to begin our work? Because there is a great deal of work that goes into the final work that we produce.
Yes, this so we will nothing will be sent public until we have approval of council, but that does not stop what happens at the working group level to do our preparations and get photographs together. And we've already engaged with, or Lorraine has been engaging with the communications department and staff. So
good. Makes me feel better.
Okay. All right, so we move on to our item 10.3, which is our Hamilton Municipal Heritage Committee Review for 2021. So staff are here to speak to the report.
Hi, Shannon Mackay, Senior Project Manager for the Development Planning, Heritage and Design team. And I just wanted to take some time to reflect on 2021 in terms of the bylaws and the reports that staff have brought forward. As you know, this year we had some changes in staff, and we were able to increase our staff complement from 2 cultural heritage planners to 3 cultural heritage planners. And as a result, we've been able to complete 3 designation bylaws this year. 1 notice of intention to designate, which was under appeal, which I'm happy to say, as of last week, the appeal was resolved by the OLT. And so staff will be bringing forward a bylaw for the Connaught property in 2022. Another notice of intention to designate for Jimmy Thompson Pool, which again will have a bylaw coming forward in January of 2022. 6 properties were added to the Municipal Heritage Register and 4 properties added to the designation work plan for the city. We also had 2 sets of batch listings done through our work in Waterdown and Ancaster. And 59 heritage permit applications were processed, with another 5 going tonight to Heritage Permit Review Subcommittee, and 9 staff reports brought forward for the year of 2021. The report also goes through the summary of the Heritage Committee Recognition Awards and a summary of all of the permits, or sorry, the properties that were added to the registry and the designation work plan, along with a summary of all those staff reports that were brought forward, were included as appendices to the staff report.
Thank you,
Do you have
Shannon.
any questions?
Sorry, Madam Chairman, I would also just want to take this opportunity to advise the committee and to recognize the hard work of staff and some of the changes that have occurred. So about a month ago or 6 weeks ago, Shannon, as a result of the realignment and reorganization of the planning division, Shannon assumed the role of manager, zoning, and committee of adjustment. She was previously the senior project manager for the urban team. So you probably won't be seeing as much of Shannon at Heritage Committee as we move forward into 2022 and beyond. In addition, as a result of that change and realignment, Anita Fayback, who was the manager of Development Planning, Heritage, and Urban Design, became the manager of Development Planning. So she will be focusing primarily on development applications. And the Heritage Planners were transferred to a new section, Heritage and Urban Design. And earlier today, we made the announcement that the manager of the Heritage and Urban Design section is Ken Coit. So Ken Coit, after 8 years of attending Municipal Heritage Committee, I would like to thank Anita for all of her work, and Shannon, because her team often has the majority of the heritage buildings. And starting in 2022, we will be Ken Coit, as the manager of Heritage and Urban Design, will be attending Municipal Heritage Committees. It's a mouthful, I know, and I will continue to attend the committee meetings as well. But I just wanted to thank and acknowledge all of the hard work of both Anita and Shannon over the last 4 to 8 years on dealing with various heritage-related matters, and they will continue to attend this committee as required, as Shannon is developing the new zoning, or if Anita has development applications involving heritage resources. Thank you very much, Madam Chairman.
Thank you very much, Steve, for that announcement. That's it's wonderful to see everyone is getting these fantastic opportunities. It's sad to not have these individuals on the team working with us as closely. Both Shannon and Anita, we really appreciate all the work that you've done over those years and everything that you've brought to help the committee operate and everything that's gone on in the background. Just in regards to Shannon's report, again, I think it reflects how much work really does happen at the staff level. So we need to recognize all that work that does happen, and that has had to happen in these really strange times when people aren't able to get into the office and operate as we would think as normal. But then it's also sort of a testament to how our volunteers have been so much involved at the working group level to assist where we can to help all of that work happen. Janice, I think you had a question.
Yes, through the chair, I would like to ask a question offline, and it can go to either Steve, Shannon, or Anita, because I'm sure either one of them will be able to answer it. If that's okay, if you can remember that. Thank you. Okay.
Robin?
Again, I want to thank the staff for doing all this work. It's amazing what we've done over the year during COVID. And my concern is the 3 designated properties that came out this year. The next step is to have those properties plaqued, and the recommendation is that those new designations should get a plaque in the year or the year after they are designated. That was the policy for joint plaquing before it was dissolved. I've heard no change in policy design, and so I'd like to recommend that those three properties go forward to the cultural department to be designated with a heritage plaque.
I second it. Listen,
Just asking staff as regards to the process. The plaquing process is being reviewed at the education working group. It's something that we've been working in the background because there have been changes over the past years. So I think that is something that has to be addressed at a later date. Just through staff, Alyssa.
Thanks through the chair. So that is a conversation that's continuing at the working group level. Previous presentations by my colleagues Christopher Redford and John Summers speaking to the plaquing program have clarified that there is no longer a budget for destination plaques. It is a pay-to-plaque system currently in place. But that conversation in terms of the properties that are currently designated and without plaques, as well as those new designated plaques, and coming up with a potential process for funding those rather than having to be hit every pockets. That's a conversation that's still ongoing. So I would probably defer Robin's recommendation if possible to that continuing the conversation.
Robin, did you have any further comments, or would you okay deferring?
We understand that the ongoing conversation as to where we can get funds to do this, but when the cultural department changed the pay for plaque, there was such a backlog of plaques that needed to be done in the old grandfathered stage that the money should still be there for that backlog.
So what we're doing is the education working group is reviewing where we had been, what past process was, where we currently sit, and then providing recommendations as to how we move forward. So at the working group level, all of that information is being compiled right now. Because right now there's no program, there's no budget, there's no background to go back and look and see where any money went, if there was money. So what we're doing is we're gathering all of that information together as a working group report, and then those recommendations that come from that are going to be brought forward to the Municipal Heritage Committee in early 2022, so that we can move forward and get those properties moving. At the time being, online, a property owner is directed to a place where if they'd like to purchase a plaque, there's the request form and the information on how they can buy it. But until then, as Alyssa Golden mentioned, we have to wait until we get that report and recommendations moving forward. So at this time, I think we don't have a choice but to defer that recommendation. Robin?
We haven't had coffee for 2 years, so there was a budget for this committee to have lunch and coffee. So that
Robin, that's not a practical budget. That what the process of reviewing this whole item was, what the intent was, is that we come with a recommendation that'll have longevity. We can't just say use our coffee budget to pay for a plaque for a designated property. So I would just say that for now, we'll leave that as the working group's review, which you're a member of that working group. And so we'll go through all of these items and bring forward recommendations to the Heritage Committee at a future date. Okay. So we have before us the report, the year-end review. Is there any other questions or comments in regards to that review? Seeing none, may I have a mover and a seconder to receive the report?
I see Tim Ritchie and I see Lynn.
Okay. If there's no other questions, we'll now vote. Is there anyone opposed? Seeing none, that item is carried. We now move on to our general information and other business. Under 13.1 is our buildings and landscapes. So at this time, we'll discuss our list of buildings and landscapes. And so if we could start a speakers list, if I could see those who'd like to report on their properties to raise your hand.
I see Janice, I see Graham, I see Robin.
Okay, as well as anyone wishing to, if there's any properties that we'd like to add to the list, if you can.
And Will.
Okay, so we'll put you on the speakers list, and Graham's already on that list, so we can discuss those at that time. So we'll start with Janice.
Through the chair, I'm looking at Endangered Buildings and Landscapes Red, and my number is 13.1A, number 6. And I do have just a little bit to add. I think it's 16, if I can remember Roman numerals. James Street Baptist Church. I had the opportunity to sit in on a meeting with Councillor Farr and the CEO of James Street Baptist, Alan Lee Nom, who is the new owner and has been the new owner since 2018. Unfortunately, there have been some changes, and it probably, I don't know, I guess it'll be a wait and see. First of all, the company that it's called Hui Developments and Investments Canada, we're working with, they are no longer partners. They were the project managers, and that was the gentleman that I spoke to, Luke, often, and they attended Durand Neighborhood Association meetings and were very forthcoming as much as they could be, as they were dealing with a company out of Vietnam. So that means that Mr. Lee Nam is looking for a new development firm. He seems to think that he will have somebody in place in the next 30 to 45 days. So I'm hoping that he does. And he's mentioned someone or some company from Toronto, perhaps, that has a background in heritage incorporation development. Secondly, and this is unfortunate, but one of the major investors from Vietnam has pulled out. So that would mean that there's going to be somebody else that's going to have to invest money. He has said that he will get back to us once he has people in place. And hello. He will get back to us within the next 30 to 45 days, and is hoping that the church restoration stabilization will start in the spring, followed by the new build, and they will be staying with the conservation plan. They will be staying with the architects, McCallum Sather. As I said, I think it's a wait and see. And of course, my other concern, and I'm directing this to the heritage staff and maybe building, because I don't know where to go with it. And this is the fire that took place in the church a few weeks ago. And the fire marshal informed Councillor Farr that there was no damage. I went back and reviewed the conservation report from McCallum Sather from 2014. And in that conservation report, there are several items that are being stored in the North Tower and the South Tower, if I am correct. So my question is, how did our homeless folks start the fire if they did not use some sort of material? I have no answers. I'm concerned about the conservation plan. I was told it was going to be the same, but if some of those parts of what was retained from the sanctuary are stored there, are they still there? They're old wood, 1878, I guess. I don't know. I've forgotten the exact build of this place. It's not a good report, but that's what I know. Thank you.
Thank you, Janice. Just through staff, would you have an update as in regards to the fire that was at the building?
Through the chair, I can speak just briefly on that from our knowledge and our involvement with that. As far as we received a complaint from Hamilton Police Services that there was a fire and that the building was not secured. So from that perspective, we also had portions of an email forwarded to us from the chief. So in that portion, again, reiterating the fact that there was zero damage, they had deemed the probable cause of a lit cigarette, which may have started a small fire of discarded garbage and debris in the basement, Janice, as far as I understand. So I would assume that nothing in the North Tower was changed or destroyed.
Go ahead, Janice.
Through the chair, you're assuming, is there any way that I'm not sure how you do this since the building is owned by we, but is there any way to get into that building and review what is remaining from the original conservation plan? I do know the window that went down in the windstorm that was supposed to be wrapped and protected is sitting in the back, and it is totally exposed with no wrapping on it. So I am very concerned about what might be remaining from that original conservation report in 2014. Thank you.
Tamara, just for administrative, could you just introduce yourself and your position? Just
Through the chair, I apologize. I was just
yeah,
trying to help Janice out
yeah,
there.
no problem.
Sure, not a problem. So my name is Tamara Reed. I am the Supervisor of Operations and Enforcement in the Licensing and Bylaw Services Division, which includes my section of municipal law enforcement. So essentially, you can view us as enforcing the majority of the bylaws within the City of Hamilton, with the exception of parking. We separated from parking quite a few years ago, so we don't um, enforce the parking bylaws. So hopefully that helps.
Thank you, Tamara. Amber, you did you have anything you wanted to add to that to this item?
Through the chair, I was just going to inform the group that we did have someone from municipal law enforcement here. I can certainly reach out to the contacts I have for this project and find out if there is a way to account for those materials listed in the conservation plan. I hope that my contacts are still involved in the project, but I'll certainly follow up and have the and find out what we can about the items that are being stored. Thanks.
Thank you, Amber. Janice, follow.
Yes, through the chair. And again, I'm not sure who should be answering this question, but also there is a security deposit that had to be registered when the first heritage permit was applied for. And I know that that is the rule. I have no idea what that security deposit is. I'm concerned that if things are damaged, would that not go towards restoration of that? And in saying that, I also know that the heritage permit for this building has lapsed, and Mr. Lee Nam is currently seeking a new heritage permit. Sorry, that was another thing I guess I should have forgotten. So there are a lot of issues around, Graham's laughing, a lot of issues around James Street Baptist.
Tamara?
Thank you. Through the chair. The current order, I'm not sure if anybody from building is here, so I don't want to speak out of turn, but I will say in my review of the file prior to today's meeting, it's indicated in our databases that the property has a current unsafe order on it. So I'm not sure, Janice, if that would be possible unless there's other means to do that through the building department. Certainly, municipal law enforcement will not be in attendance unless in attendance with maybe the building department that declares certain portions that are safe to go into. So currently, the building is in a gray zone for vacant. only because the permits for building are still open, which usually means that that would default them from being under the scope of the vacant building registry bylaw. Now, in that bylaw, it also speaks to having at least 40 hours of active construction within the 90-day periods, beginning with the 90 days after the issuance of the building permit. So the unsafe order that was issued after the fire, the morning of the fire, was particular to restrict access, designated to the owner to restrict access to that building. So you can see that the building is completely enclosed by a fence, and that usually is what building determines to be part of their unsafe orders, to have that fully secured. So the morning of the fire, it was noted that there was an opening in the fence, so that would be repaired. So access for the public or for the homeless should be secured. So there should be no one in that building. And I understand there are difficulties and challenges with that currently, as they are placing the tents within that building. So because it is private property, that would be deemed part of the owner's responsibilities to ensure that the building is restricted to entry. Where we kind of take this as a gray area is we're always willing to help out under our vacant building bylaw for open to trespass, even though the building is currently unregistered. So they would have to maintain the security of that building. And as many of you are aware, if that security measure um, fails to prove safe, that we can go ahead and switch from plywood. We can upgrade it to steel, and then masonry after that, in conjunction with the heritage planners, to make sure that the heritage integrity of the building is also kept and preserved.
Thank you, Tamara. It's very complicated. So I guess I don't know what else to say.
So all of that information has been provided to the property owner, that they know that these repairs need to be done.
I've been there. The gate that they cut open, they've all got snippers, so the wire fence that they cut through has been repaired. The doors that they entered through on the Jackson Street side, I guess that's the south side, they're secured, and there was a large gape from the cladding on the second level, and it was open. So how that got damaged is beyond me, but uh, we had to contact Mr. Linon because he was not aware of that, but it did get boarded up with plywood. And I am making twice weekly trips by the property to ensure that it stays secure. I live close by.
Go ahead, Tamara.
Thank you. Through the chair. Just to add to that, Janice, I can advise that our staff were out there yesterday morning and everything was secure.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Will here.
Will, did you have a comment in regards to this property?
No, more towards the work Janice has been doing. It's good that somebody's really being close, checking it out, because it's been going on and going on. So at least somebody's really got their eyes on it. That's good.
Thank you.
Is there any, Janice, did you have any, is there any other discussion or comments about
Not on that,
property?
no. I appreciate I appreciate the comments that I received back, and I will continue to ask questions. And just my last one, number 16, Television City. I hope to have some information on that property at our next January meeting in 2022. Thank you. That's it for me.
And just going back to James Street Baptist, Amber, if you wouldn't mind, if you can provide an update as to what you follow up with, if that's okay, we can get some further information from the heritage elements that are to be conserved?
Yes, through the chair. I will follow up on that. Thank you.
Next on our list is Graham.
Okay, back to my old favorite. When is it? 828 Sanatorium Road, the former Long and Bisbee building. Once again, there was a window knocked in, so it's unsecure on the east side where they can get in. I've let Stacy know, and now that I know Tamara Reed's our bylaw enforcement person contact, I could copy her in on all future emails so we can quickly get those doors and windows boarded up, or hopefully one of these ones stays bricked up. So prevents it. This one's on the side where the building was on the back was torn down. So it's at an easy level for people to get into. Once they get over the fence, it's easy to get into. So those ones should be more secure than the other windows, which take a little effort to get up into. The other one I like to do is add 537 King Street East to the watch list. And we're going right from nothing to red, if you don't mind. 537 has had a development plan put forward to the design review panel already. Now, a couple of the architects that are doing the review have not supported tearing down 537, but the owner of the property has said he'll take some of the bricks from the building and glue it onto the new one, and that's enough heritage. Well, obviously it's not. Our last meeting, we recommended 537 for the designation work plan and on the registry. It's an important building. They should be able to incorporate the building into their site plan, maybe use it for their requirement for geared income housing, make some small apartments in there or whatever, but do something, save the building. It's important that we do that. It's the only example of that style of building within miles, and we got to protect it as best we can. So I'm recommended 537 go on to the endangered buildings list.
Okay. So Graham's put forward that motion. Is there a seconder?
Will here.
Right. Is there, and we're adding it to the list on red. Is there anyone opposed? Seeing none, that item is carried. And so we'll, Lorraine will add that to our list to review. And actually just one other comment, when Graham had mentioned about communicating any issues that came up on properties, if I could just get staff to clarify the best protocol for providing those comments and whatnot. Should that go to the heritage planners and then forwarded to Tamara, or should Tamara be CC'd on any of those emails? Hi, Tamara.
Hi. Sorry, through the chair. Yes, Amber and I have a really good, and Alyssa have a really, really good working relationship. So if you want to go ahead and forward it to Heritage first, and then they can forward it to our office, and it can be directly to me. That's not a problem.
Thank you.
Actually, Tamara, while you were, did you want to speak to the 828 Senator?
Through the chair. Yeah, we've just been very familiar with this for the past couple of years for various reasons. We have currently staff that attend on a regular basis to ensure that the property is secure. The fence that is existing there, Graham, I'm not sure if you noticed whether or not the fence was compromised or not, but that is supposed to be a non-scalable fence. So the effort that they're using to get into the interior of that property beyond the fence is extensive. But again, I have sent staff out to check on that property, and then they will notify the Valerity Group, which will subsequently send out their contractors to make it secure before the end of day.
Yep, I did not see a breach in the fence.
Okay, thank you.
And Stacy?
Yes, just through you, Madam Chair. I have reached out to the Valerias, and they are securing it. They are well aware of it, and they are getting on it as of this morning. So they will report back once it's been secured.
That's great. Graham, any other items before we move on our speakers list?
Nope, that's the one. And if you want on that 537, you can put me down as watching it.
Sounds good. Robin, you're next on our list.
Okay, thank you. Red list. The first one is XIV, which is the Akmar Gatehouse. The Friends of Akmar have requested the gatehouse to be put on the National Endangered Property list for 2022. Also, the lighthouse, which is on the next page, has been designated under the Heritage Lighthouse designation by the feds. And I would like to move that the lighthouse into the red zone because the one recommendation, well, not the recommendation, what they want to go forward with is that they want to move the lighthouse. And it's now a heritage lighthouse. It's designated under the Heritage Act, but they want to move it. And so moving a structure could damage it. So I'd like to put it into the red zone.
Robin?
Okay, so, oh,
Sorry.
yes. Go ahead, Will.
When you say it's designated under the Heritage Act, are we talking the Federal Heritage Act or the Ontario Heritage Act? And who wants to move it? The Harbor Commissioners?
It's designated under both acts, and the federal government wants to move it, which trumps the Ontario Act.
And is the Harbor Commissioners in agreement, or they got that 400,000? Is that what they want to use it for? Or?
There's no agreement. It's almost a mandate.
Oh, that they've been told because of the bridge.
Correct.
Okay, and where's that at?
The bridge?
No, the moving, the decision to move it. In the hands of the federal.
Yes, it hasn't been announced yet.
Right.
Okay, so Robin has requested to add the property to our list of red. Do we have a seconder?
Yes.
Well, okay. Is there anyone opposed? So, Lorraine, if we could get that property moved to the red designation?
Yes, Madam Chair.
Okay. But is there any other properties that you have?
I just want a clarification on the yellow V, the Copley building. It says 104 King Street West. It's actually, and then it says York Street. So I don't believe it's 104 King Street.
I don't believe it is either. Through the chair.
104 McNabb, maybe.
No, it's 6376 McNabb.
I'll have that corrected on the list.
Okay, thank you.
If there's no other properties, Robin, Will, you're next on our list.
Nothing new to report on anybody.
Okay. And Tim, we had you on the list in regards to 537.
Yeah, Graham kind of stole the thunder there, but I can.
You need to apologize to him, Graham.
I can send some backup his way. It's a bar that's in trouble, so Graham's going to keep an eye on it. So that's important. but
Scottish Irish, buddy.
I don't know if Graham had mentioned this, if I'd faded in and out, but this did go before the Hamilton Design Review Panel. And I guess were you saying, was it also discussed at the inventory and working group? Oh, it hasn't been discussed at the working group, or it has?
Yes.
It was discussed and it brought up to this committee where it got added to the work plan and the registry and passed by council. So it has got protection now. We just want to make sure that it doesn't get torn down.
And I say Amber can provide some additional feedback. Amber's.
And I was just wondering if they're aware that it was our staff that it went through the design review panel at City.
So Amber is available she's going to provide comment.
Through the chair, Amber Knowles, Cultural Heritage Planner. There's a few different avenues that have happened here. So this property was flagged for a third party for addition to the Heritage Register, and then went through the Inventory and Research Working Group, where there was a recommendation to add it to the register and to the designation work plan, and that was passed by Council November 10th. Then additionally, a site plan application was applied for prior to Council's addition to the Heritage Register and the designation work plan. And since then, those application materials weren't updated to reflect this new status of the building because the application was applied for before it passed through council. The applicant has been informed of the new status and has been asked to update their cultural heritage impact assessment to reflect this new status. The the Cultural Heritage Impact Assessment also went to Policy and Design Working Group last night, and the recommendations from that group and from staff will be going forward to the applicant. So that's the current update. So it has been through Inventory and Research Working Group, Policy and Design, and yes, it went to the design panel last week, and comments from staff and from the Policy and Design Group are being forwarded to the applicant. Thank you.
Excellent.
Thank you, Amber. Tim, any other comments?
No, that's pretty good. That's one I'm glad we're having a real eye on it. That's it for that property. I had one quick question here. I see that his name Tamara Reed is the bylaw officer. I had sent my pictures to Amber this month, but I'm wondering if I can just mention about 134 Mary. And there's been a huge uptick of graffiti on the property. I know MLE came down on the property owner a few months back and it really got cleaned up, but it has since really resurfaced. I don't know if that's an appropriate venue here to pass that information through or not.
Through the chair, that's fine, not a problem, Tim. I will have the students take a look at that. I'll just keep in mind that the orders can be issued, but they don't have an obligation to clean off the graffiti until April because we're in the winter season now. Okay. But who knows? If they're a good property owner, they'll try and get it off sooner rather than later. But thank you. 134 Mary Street, just to be confirmed.
Yes, the Cannon Knitting Mills.
Oh, okay. Familiar with that one now. Thank you.
Yeah. And that's it for me.
So that's the end of our speakers list. But Janice, I think you have a follow up. Yeah.
I do, please. And
so
I have.
So we'll do our second speakers. So we have Janice, we've got Robin and Will. Okay, so Janice, go ahead.
Okay, through the chair, and this is back to Amber again. And I was trying to make my notes on 537 King Street East. Oh my goodness, that's my phone. Sorry, it's gone now. It's a fake number. I was trying to make my updates. So this went to Policy and Design last night, and there was a Cultural Heritage Impact Assessment, correct? Was it based on the fact that it is on the work plan for designation? And now will that go back to design review panel so that they can speak to the owner about what he or she may have to incorporate into the new build or their suggestions? Not what he has to, the suggestions, sorry.
Through the chair, yes, so this went through to Policy and Design Working Group yesterday, and both the Policy and Design Working Group comments and staff comments are being currently forwarded to the applicant and do provide suggestions and recommendations and certainly official plan policies to integrate and explore retention options for this building. This will be going to design review panel imminently, and so those comments will be forwarded. And we are asking for the CHIA to be updated to explore options as well as update the status of that building.
Thank you. And secondly, through the chair, I know David is not here, but I did send this through to several people. Some good news on Delta High School. There are 3 bids that will be coming through, I think, in the new year. And one is Indwell. We know their work very well. A second is Horizon Homes. And a third is somebody called Windmill out of Toronto who does work with heritage buildings. So I think that is excellent news. And I know who I'm cheering for. That's all I'm saying. Thank you very much.
Thank you for that, Janice. Robin?
Thank you, Chair. 13.1C. Now that Royal Connaught and Treble Hall have been designated, can they be taken off that list?
They most certainly can if the group agrees. Robin, would you be putting forward that motion to remove?
Sure. Yeah, I'll make that motion. Seeing that I put 2 other ones on, we can take 2 off.
Do we have a seconder to remove the Connaught and Treble Hall?
I see Graham.
Okay. And is there anyone opposed? Seeing none, we can do some cleanup of our list and take off 2 properties. That's always good news for us.
Yeah. 13.1.D, my second one is that there's 3 properties that are endangered on Wilson Street in Ancaster. It's the second development project. One will be demolished, one will be moved slightly, and one will be remaining. That's the chia, that is the plan. So I suggested that goes on to the blacklist, seeing that we can't really do anything about that, other than the one, none of them are designated.
Oh, Stacy?
Through you, Madam Chair, I will just note that an application has come forward for these properties. It is just at the very early stages, and no decisions or further discussion has been had at this point. That CHIA was also reviewed at Policy and Design yesterday, and staff will be forwarding staff comments as well as those comments from P&D to the planner on the file. So P&D has been involved right from the beginning, and once again, there's nothing that is set in stone as of right now. It is just a proposal at this point.
Stacy, just for Lorraine, would you be able to just give those address numbers?
Yep, it is 442, 450, and 454 Wilson Street East.
That's 442, 450, and 452?
Correct.
Wilson.
Yep.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
So Robin has put forward the motion to add those to our property list of black. Do we have a seconder for that motion? I see Tim.
Tim Ritchie.
Is there anyone opposed of adding those? Seeing none, those properties will be added to the list. Do we have a volunteer that would like to be associated with those properties? Not seeing any volunteers. Why don't we?
Sorry, what was the address for it again?
It's on Wilson Street East in Ancaster.
Oh.
So I have other properties at Ancaster, including the Mar Filippo building. So I will volunteer for the additional ones on Wilson Street.
Okay, thank you, Chuck. Okay. All right. And Will, we're now circling back to you you had a question or comment?
Yeah, we were talking about the Good Shepherd building. And earlier they were saying that there was housing there. Is there housing in that building? I only thought of it as a working building for the food bank and things like that.
Oh, no, it was converted to residential.
Oh, okay. Just never seen anything there. Nor any knowledge. Okay.
Everything related to the food bank and the resource center is now across the street. It's the old City Chev auto.
Yep, exactly. I've seen
yeah,
that.
so, yep.
Can't miss it. Yep. Okay. Thank you. I just was, we were talking about giving him the award, and I thought, when did that happen? The housing component. So thank you for the answer.
No problem. All right, so that concludes our properties discussion. If there's no other comments or properties that we need to review, may I have a mover and a seconder to receive the list and the updates?
I see Robin and I see Lynn.
Okay. Is there anyone opposed to receiving? I see none. So that item is carried. Thank you, everyone. And our last official item is 13.2, which is an update respecting Hamilton 175. So we have John Summer and Cynthia Roberts is here to give us an update. Hello, Cynthia.
Hi, through you, Madam Chair. Thank you for inviting me back. Don't think John is here today, but I'm happy to provide a verbal update on the Hamilton 175 project and Hamilton Civic Museum.ca, the website that we recently launched on November 30th. And what I would like to do, if that's okay, is to share my screen and walk you through the website and some of the exhibitions that we launched with, and then I'm happy to answer any questions. I'll proceed to share my screen. Everyone see my screen? Yeah, okay, perfect. So as you all may recall, as part of the Hamilton 175 project, we were building and launched a new digital storytelling platform called Hamilton Civic Museums.ca. And the goal of this platform is to present untold stories, heritage stories about Hamilton and Hamiltonians in digital form. We built a platform that will continue to grow and evolve as we add new content, create new partnerships with communities, and present new types of exhibitions and different interactivity on this site. For this launch, we're launching with an opening of 7 exhibitions, which I'll show some of them to you today. So this is what the main website looks like when you log into hamiltoncivicmuseums.ca. There is one of the exhibitions feature, which is the Hamilton's History Timeline, which I'll go into in more details later on. Then we have a presentation of all the exhibitions, the 7 exhibitions that we are launching with. There is a range of exhibits, and I'll mention all of them in just a minute, but then people can choose from this spot, learn a little bit more about each of them, and then stay up to date with our social media. Part of the launch is also that we've consolidated our social media channels into one. So Hamilton Civic Museums, we're all city museums will have a voice and space under this new name. So everything is aggregated here on the site for people that are visiting. I'm going up. There's a few other areas that people can explore, which is the list of virtual exhibitions, our museum sites under museums, if they can see where they are, and click to learn more about each of them. And then there's the contact and who we are. The who we are is particularly interesting because this is where not only do we explain what we do as heritage resource management and with Hamilton Civic Museums, both existing sites, but also our digital platform. But we also recognize that we're on Indigenous land and our commitment and alliance to showing truth and reconciliation in the histories and stories that we present on our sites. And then last but not least, we have a set of questions, FAQ, where people that perhaps are looking to buy tickets, to visit, to book a school site can find more information about how to do that through this site. Now, in terms of the exhibitions that we launched with, the idea is that on this area of the site, you're going to have all of the exhibits that we are presenting. Right now there's 7, but in the future there will be more. So the 7 that we've launched with is a history timeline, which I'll show you in more details, in which we're asking people to highlight historic events relevant to the Hamilton area. Then an exhibition about the Brightside neighborhood that used to be in the industrial area has now disappeared. Then a storytelling project called Stories of Migration and Belonging, in which we're highlighting 6 personal stories of people that have migrated to Hamilton and now call Hamilton home. And Struggles and Survival is a survey of 3 historic pandemics and how that impacted the infrastructure and the society of Hamilton at the time. So things like, for example, the waterworks is a result of such things. It's making the connection between pandemics and the legacy to the city. And the other exhibitions, one is called Points of Pride. And this is a place-based history project, which a collective of community members are mapping the invisible queer history in Hamilton. And the last 2 exhibitions, one is called And Still I Rise, and it looks at the contributions of the Black communities in the 20th century through the lens of labor and work. And last but not least, we have launched a space called Talking About Treaties, in which we will be exploring topics about Indigenous land treaties and how that influence and impact our understanding of the region we live in as Hamilton, but also in terms of Ontario, and to do it in a very didactic way. So in order to show you just a taste of the exhibits, I'm going to show you 3 of them that I believe are relevant to the Heritage Committee. So as I mentioned, one of them is the Hamilton's History Timeline. And the idea behind this interface is that the content itself would be crowdsourced from heritage organizations and community members, and they can submit their content so that we have the broadest and the broadest possible content, but also are inclusive in letting people tell their own stories on this timeline. So when you navigate, you have at the top you can go through time and see all the cards that we've launched with. And an example would be here. So for example, the Journey of Hope mural. It was a submission by the Fraternity Hispanic Association, and you can read a little bit about what the mural was about, where it is, where you can visit it, and then have additional content with images and videos, etc. People that would want to submit their content, which is something that we will be doing in through 2022, they can go to the About and send us an email with a content proposal through the Contact Us. So that is the timeline exhibition. The next one that I want to feature, so it's the Brightside neighborhood. And it is a project that some of you may be familiar with. It's been going on for 5 years. The research project, community-based mapping, in which researchers paired with former residents of the Brightside neighborhood and started collecting their oral histories and stories in order to preserve the memory of a neighborhood that once was located in Hamilton. And so we are presenting an online version of this exhibition. When you log in, you hear about what the neighborhood was, but then you're able to explore the map that was created with the Brightsiders and collecting their stories. So when you click on these pins, you can go and explore content, which ranges from text to images to a lot of oral histories from Brightsiders. This is an example of the Brightside Hotel, which was quite an iconic building in the area. So you can explore different aspects of the Brightside Hotel with some information. And then, as I mentioned, there's a lot of oral histories as part of this project. So things like community, you can explore where the hotel was in this case, and then start to see personal photos that the Brightsiders have contributed to this exhibition and in preserving the memories of the people that lived there and how spaces were used, etc. So it is really an incredible amount of work that the project team has done, but it's beautifully presented in a way to preserve this history that was such an integral part of this area of Hamilton. So I encourage you to explore this exhibition more. And the last one that I'll feature today is the Points of Pride exhibition. And when you log into the site, there's a brief explanation of what the project is about. This is an ongoing project in which the team will continue to collect stories and present it on our site. And what they've done is through a platform called History Pin, we've embedded the content that they've provided, and you can explore different areas that are relevant to queer history in Hamilton. So, for example, this is the women's book stop. That was a feminist bookstore in Hamilton. There's other places that range from bookstores, bar locations, and what they're doing is also reaching out to the community. So if there are any photos and content that will enrich those points, then that can be submitted. They are also doing some interviews as well with different people, and so you can go and listen to those audio pieces. And as the project grows, they will also be posting updates in the blog section on this site. So I would love to show you all of the other exhibitions, but I really would encourage you to just browse through the site and send us any comments and feedback. The main goal is not only to have a platform to present, but also to be able to engage with the community with exhibitions that continue to grow and evolve. And we have active participation in that communication with our partners. So Brightside is an example, as well as Points of Pride in this sense, in which we're offering a platform for these community members to showcase their histories on their own terms. So thank you.
Thank you, Cynthia. If you want to maybe just unshare your screen for the moment. That's fantastic. Thank you very much for that overview of the website. Just to see how much work has been done since just that short period of time when you came first to the committee to introduce the project to now, it's fantastic. So thank you very much for all of that work that's been done on that to you and the rest of the team. But thank you again for presenting to us today. Did we have any questions or comments from the members? Janice, go ahead.
Yeah, I just want to say thank you, Cynthia. I've had the opportunity to speak with you because I was hoping that I might put something on this exhibition. And looking at the work that some of these people have done, I sort of backed off a little bit because I was overwhelmed at what had been accomplished by many of these people. And I'm not so sure that what I wanted to do would fit, in that I'm not so sure I have the resources nor the talent. But I'm super impressed. I really enjoy what you've done. Thank you.
Thank you, Janice. And yes, you definitely should still send me the information and we'll put it up online. It's all well and good and we'll make it look pretty. So that
Thank
goes
you.
to
Thank you.
That's there's lots of professionals, Janice, that can help.
Well, I like I said, I was absolutely floored with what I saw. It was so impressive.
Question, Will.
Sure, go ahead, Will.
The site is hamiltonmuseums.ca. Is there not a way to have called the site something more like Hamilton's History?
So through the chair, we were using the name for our museums, which is Hamilton Civic Museums.ca. At the time, we will continue to use a name that is recognizable to people. However, as we the HRM, our section, has embarked in a new strategy, like museum strategy that just launched, and there's a lot of work that's gonna happen behind the scenes to support that strategy. Could be that the name could be revisited at such a time, but for the time being, that's the name we're launching with.
Yeah, because what I thought right from the beginning, that this was going to be cumulative of the city's history, but it seems like it's what I thought it was going to be, that I thought it might have headed to, is being focused on the museums, city museums. And nothing about the number of other museums that exist out there, from Warplane Heritage all the way down to the Toy Museum. So anyway, that's why I wondered why major focus is on the city's museums and not all museums that are out there, and the rest of the city's history, which you look like you're trying to get into, but again, focus goes back to the 7 museums, city owned. Correct?
So it's twofold. One is to provide information on city-owned museums, so people can still go and visit those physical sites. And through this platform, as a digital storytelling platform, that is where we're going to be inclusive of all cities' histories beyond the sites that we interpret, or the sites that we own and manage. So I think the duality of the two is what really broadens the scope of the heritage and stories and histories that we're presenting as the city themselves. So it's like a twofold strategy that we're doing at the time. So it's not simply focusing just on the museums that we own and operate, but it's expanding the narrative through this digital platform.
I think the mayor hit the point that the city needs a land museum, a hard museum, and more than a virtual museum. He said that at a recent meeting. So that's what we should have at some point. But anyway, that's my comment for today.
Thank you, Will. So I've got Robin and then Councillor Pearson. Robin, go ahead.
This was a project of 175 that ends at the end of the month. What happens after that for the project 175?
Thank you, Robin, through the chair. So this website launch is part of Hamilton 175. At the end of this year, that we conclude our anniversary year, the website will continue on as Hamilton Civic Museums, and there will be the original 7 exhibitions will always be credited as being launched as part of Hamilton 175. So we will carry on just presenting exhibitions and content on our site that is disconnected with Hamilton 175 as an anniversary year, just simply addressing the heritage and history of Hamilton.
So Robin, really it's a legacy project that started with the anniversary, but the intent is that it will be continued.
Yeah, thank you.
Years to come. Councillor Pearson?
Yes, thank you, and I appreciate Robin's question, and just back to Will, and so yes, we do need a bricks and mortar museum that's more than just you know, one of our heritage properties. We need a museum that recognizes many of the historical attributes over the years in Hamilton. But I believe the reason this has become a virtual for Hamilton 175 is very unfortunately it's just all to do with COVID. And but we're going to continue to persevere and maybe through you, Madam Chair, Cynthia can clarify, as I think she already has. You know, we have every intention of doing what we can once we get through COVID.
Yes, and through the chair, that is correct. The digital platform is a complement to the work that we do with Heritage Insight. It's not meant to replace any other initiatives that are ongoing at the city. And also it is a result of, as you mentioned, the unfortunate reality that we're in with the pandemic. But it is an immense contribution to the work that we do as Heritage, because prior to this, we really didn't have a digital platform and website to present content other than just simply to provide information. So this is really elevating the work that we're doing as museum professionals and heritage professionals to engage an audience on a digital platform and truly bring it into like the 21st century. So absolutely, it's a complement, and it's a different platform to present and engage, but it's definitely not meant to replace any other initiatives, but simply to add and expand.
Thank you, Cynthia. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you all. And is there any other questions or comments on this item? If none, again, I'd like to thank you, Cynthia, and to the group, and so job well done. And if I can now have a mover and a seconder to receive the presentation.
Well, I see Councillor Pearson, and I see Will.
Is there anyone opposed? Seeing none, that item is carried. So we are now coming to the end of our agenda. Just before we adjourn, a couple of things. I wanted to acknowledge the new Heritage intern. Not sure if they can turn on their camera at all, but we welcome Natalie Maja.
Natalie, where's Natalie?
There's Natalie.
Hi there. Hi, everyone.
Hi, Natalie. Would you like to just introduce yourself and let us know?
Yeah, absolutely. So my name is Natalie. I'm a recently joined on Heritage intern assisting Alyssa Golden with the inventory project in Dundas specifically. So beginning my research on Dundas and learning about the history and culture of it in order to help with identifying heritage properties in the area. So very excited to join the team. I really enjoyed sitting in on this call and listening as well, and look forward to working with you guys.
That's wonderful. Welcome, Nellie. I'm sure there'll be plenty of work for you on that project. So hope you enjoy your experiences. Before we leave, is there any other additional items that anyone would like to raise before we go? I see Janice's hand. Go ahead, Janice. Oh, and Will would like to add. So Janice, go ahead.
Yes, this is a request. Perhaps Lorraine could help with this one. Is it possible to get the design review panel on our meetings and agendas list? I check many of the agendas, and I guess this was brought to my attention because of 537 King Street East, and I found out about it through Graham, who I think found out about it through somebody else. So it was a long way around, and those are very important, and they are public meetings. Anybody can attend, and I certainly have attended both in person and virtually, depending on what's on the agenda. So I just wondered if that was a possibility moving forward.
I'll see
That's
what I
it
can do
for
with
me.
that. Through the chair, I'll see what I can do with about that.
Thank you, Lorraine.
Will, you're next.
I'm probably preempting you, Madam Chairman, but I just wanted to wish everybody a Merry Christmas and a hope that in the new year we will be seeing each other live.
Thank you for that, Will. You did jump ahead. That's no, but we have to do all of our wishes. I know it's not the same. Normally we would have a little holiday party afterwards and everyone would be able to share their treats. And this is now the second year we haven't been able to do that. So hopefully the next holiday season we'll be able to see each other and have that nice little gathering that we would normally do. But
Hopefully long before.
yes, hopefully, yes, hopefully. What else should we, any other items? Just our, before we head out, our next virtual meeting is going to be January 21st, 2022, and it's a 9:30 meeting again.
Why are we meeting in the morning?
Oh, Lorraine, I'll let you take that one.
Because that's when there was availability.
Are there going to be 9:30 in the morning from now on?
They may be.
Oh, okay. I thought we had that 3 o'clock slot. But anyway.
Oh gosh.
No, we've never conducted a meeting at 3 o'clock.
I'd
or
be
1
asleep.
o'clock, 1 and 2.
Through the chair, I have also included a link to the design review panel in the chat. If you wish to bookmark that for your own use, it is on the website. As Janet said, they are public meetings and you can access that anytime you wish. Also, finally, there are no plans to have in-person meetings for the foreseeable future. So we will be continuing on with our virtual meetings. And Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays, of course. I'm sorry, I totally grinched out there.
No, not really. Until the numbers get down to 200, 300, you're right, we'll never see real meetings. So the way they're going, not good.
And just going back to a previously discussed item, Janice, you said you had a question for offline?
Yes, I do.
Okay, so Lorraine, how would you, if you could maybe let us know how you'd like to?
Janice, do you want to email me?
Sure. And then you can direct it to the appropriate person.
Will do.
Okay, thank you very much.
All right. So if there's no other items, I would like to personally wish everybody a Merry Christmas and a Happy Holidays. I hope everybody gets a chance to take a bit of a break and to enjoy time with their families and to be well and merry and just to really enjoy this time. I know it's been a couple of really challenging years, and we hope that things are getting better. But I say really want to make sure that everybody has that time to enjoy and has a very happy Merry Christmas and a happy holidays. And thank you all for all of the work. This is not just to our own volunteers and the working group members, but to all of the city staff. Thank you for all of the hard work that you've done throughout the year. Again, it's getting used to the virtual environment and dealing at this kind of distance, but some excellent things have happened this year and the work that's been able to be accomplished. So thank you all, and we wish for a very happy 2022.
One last comment.
Go ahead,
Is it possible for us to get a list of who's in heritage planning from Steve Robichaud down to the heritage planners?
Yeah, maybe Lorraine, if there was previous information that had been sent out as to the staffing, maybe if something revised could be issued to the group.
Chair, I will send out a revised list.
Thank you.
Wonderful. Great. Well, thank you, everyone. And before we go, I need a motion for adjournment. Do we have a mover and a seconder?
I see Councillor Pearson.
Merry Christmas, everyone. Stay safe. That means vaccinations and masks.
And boosters.
And boosters.
Boosters. I'm trying to get on right now, and they're booked solid.
I'm done.
Oh, good for you.
Me too.
Yeah. Me
too. So, Lorraine, would you like to pick a seconder?
Oh, pardon me. I saw Chuck's hand earlier.
Perfect.
I just didn't want to interrupt the good vibes.
That's great. Well, thank you, everyone, and have a great day. Take care.
Merry Christmas, everybody.
Merry Christmas.
Everyone.
Take care, everyone.
See some of you